Hey guys, Jeff Francoeur here. Thanks for listening to our content, and please like and subscribe. Before we get to the podcast, if you have middle school or high school kids that play sports and you don't want to fundraise like me, we got you covered. My buddy Chris Carneal owns Booster. Chris?
We help schools and sports teams raise funds in a super fun and engaging way. In fact, the last 22 years, we've raised $750 million, and we can't wait to help you. Choose booster.com.
Welcome back to Pure Athlete. Jeff Francoeur along with Britt Lee and Brad Williams. Guys, first off, happy Father's Day. How was it?
It was great. My wife on Father's Day kind of says, everybody leave dad alone, which doesn't happen. But, just can get a good nap in, don't have to do any work around the house. We'd had a good brunch. It was a really, really good day.
Yeah, Father's Day is different at our age than
Yes, it is.
It's at your age. So I just wanted to preempt and jump to the age thing before you did. But
we threw it out there.
Yeah, for me too. I mean, it's my first Father's Day where one of my kids was not with me because she lives in Michigan. That was a bit of a bummer. But yeah, we had a great day too. Everybody came over. We went to church. We, hung out, took a little nap, watched a little U.S. Open, played a little pickleball, went to the pool. Did it all.
Good for you.
Really
we went to
day.
church too, just make sure. We went to church before the brunch, just to make sure you knew that.
Well, I had to work, took the kids to the pool, chased them all day. But it was fun.
Yeah, you're in air conditioning though, right?
I was
Braves
during
game?
during the Braves game. Thank God, because it was 95 degrees.
I had tickets, and I was like, "There ain't no way I'm sitting through that."
It's unbelievable. They had 41,000 there, and I just remember thinking, "How are these kids got to be melting?" I just pictured my own kids, and was like, but it was good. It was kind of bad. I was in Italy for 8 days, so that was.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Man,
what was the highlight?
I want to move there. Drinking wine and eating pasta has become my thing, but it was just beautiful. The whole landscape over there, being in Rome for 2 days, the architecture. What I think is crazy over there is just how they preserved everything over time. It's pretty impressive.
Was it a first time over there?
It was, yeah.
I haven't been yet. That's
it's
on the
really
bucket
cool.
list.
And then the Amalfi Coast, we went to Capri one day. It's just gorgeous.
Yeah.
What was your favorite place? Was that your favorite city?
No, Positano, where we stayed for 3 or 4 days. It's a cool town into the city, and you would take the boat from our hotel into the village, and it's shopping, food. It was a lot of fun.
Now I heard you on the radio talking about maybe replacing OJ in the morning with red wine.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I said, well, it's that good over there.
It's got vitamin C, doesn't it? I'm sure.
But the cool thing over there, is and that's honestly, I lost 2 pounds.
Yeah.
So I'm like, how did this happen? Well, they have no preservatives.
It's clean.
They have exactly all the food, all the drinks. So it was good, but it is, you get back home and 4 kids, it's a dose back to reality really quick.
Yeah.
And I don't think me or Katie were ready for it.
Yeah. But speaking of going back to Father's Day, you took your dad with you to a TBS game
I did the
last
Phillies,
week.
Red Sox when I got back, and my dad came up. It was great. I got him first row there by the Boston Red Sox dugout with his buddy. And then Wednesday we drove down over to Springfield, where my dad grew up, and spent the day with my grandma. So she's 94, and it was a good day.
That's cool.
That's a cool Father's Day moment.
It was fun to be with him for that. And then, of course, Father's Day was great too, because you had the final round of the U.S. Open on, which was
unbelievable.
Watching McIlroy miss a couple of those putts, that was tough.
Dude,
what do y'all think about what do y'all think about his reaction? Like kind of walking off.
You mean walking off?
Yeah. What do y'all think about that?
Well, I mean, we always talk about how classy it is when somebody goes and does the interviews and so on and so forth. At the same time,
there's times he's been in it so much that for me, there's times like, and I bet you, I really do, knowing Rory McIlroy, I bet you he texted DeChambeau or called him and said, congrats. That's a tough way, bogeying 15, 16, and 18. And I just think, you know what? And for him, like I said, if there's one guy that's answered all the questions about LIV, always out there, it's like, you know what? To me, you give a guy like that a break for one time. You know what? I don't want to say anything I'm going to regret. I'm ready to get out of here.
Yeah, I agree. He's been through a lot in the past.
So I got no issue with that. I really don't.
I mean, I think you should have. I mean, the guy made, how much did he make in the finish in second?
That doesn't matter. Money's irrelevant to him.
I know, but I mean, I think it's part of the deal. I mean, you're a professional. I think you gotta answer the hard questions. I mean, he's one of the best in the world. You know, he played the last 4 holes poorly, and he lost the championship. They play in
so many tournaments. He's probably gonna say, "I'll answer the questions Tuesday when I get to wherever we're going."
I just think I don't think it was a great look, but I like him. I really do like. He's one of my favorite golfers.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons I like him so much is because he is a guy that answers the hard questions.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I get it.
But I think at some point, right? Isn't everybody allowed a mulligan at some point?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, he got missed 2 3-footers.
And that's what I'm saying. I think it was just pure like I'm done with this, and all the divorce stuff, and I think he's just been through a lot.
It may have been him. It may have been him being smart to think, hey, I may say something I don't want to say.
And that's what I just said. I think he's so hot. If someone even brings that up in the middle of it, it's like, you know what?
People have been chanting USA all day.
That's what I'm saying. It's probably best to just get out of it. And DeChambeau, you know,
he's an interesting personality.
Let me tell you, he has totally changed. You know, he was interacting with fans. Even after bad shots, he was kind of making fun of himself. So I feel like fans kind of got behind him.
Yeah, they did big time. So, I mean, it was cool for him. It was tough to watch for Rory.
Yeah.
But that's sports.
It is. And Stanley Cup and NBA Finals both got out to 3-0 leads, and at least the other team's forced to Game 5. So we'll see what happens.
Do you guys think, like, do you think that those teams that are 3-0, do you think they just tank that 4th game? I mean, how do you get beat by so bad?
I think the other team just comes out with tons of energy, and once they get a lead, the other team doesn't want to climb the hill.
Yeah, and I also think, look, in the hockey case, Florida, they skate fast, they skate hard, they play 4 lines. And Edmonton, I think, just said we got to win one, and they and once that game got to 3-4-1,
they said,
you know what, we'll go win it at home down in Florida with our things. And the Mavs, same thing. I just think you can only push so hard.
Yeah.
And I think Boston had pushed so hard in Game 3 in Dallas that finally you get on the wrong side. Same kind of thing, right? You get down 18 points at halftime, you're like, it's over.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when this airs, Game 5 will have happened.
Yeah.
So we'll either be, as people are listening to this, both series could be over.
I'm saying Dallas wins in Boston, as people are listening to this. My prediction.
Okay.
And I think Florida beats Edmonton in Game 5.
I think the Mavs they're just depleted. I mean, I think they're hurt, they're tired, they make a heck of a run, and I just think they got nothing left. So I think
they pull out one in Beantown. We'll see.
I think it's over.
We'll text.
We'll see.
But you know, Britt, getting to that, we'll kind of let you. So what are we doing for the next 25 minutes?
Well, actually, we're doing something kind of unique. We've never done this before, but I think it's going to be interesting. Something happened last week that we think is really worthy of talking about, and that is that 2 guys gave speeches last week that are arguably GOATs in their sport, Roger Federer and Tom Brady. And I'll kind of start off and give a little bit of context about Federer's speech because I'm a tennis guy. But Roger was asked to give the commencement address at Dartmouth. His agent's daughter goes to Dartmouth. And so he was doing a favor. But if you haven't watched his speech, then it's 25 minutes long. It's phenomenal. We're not going to play the whole speech today, but we are going to play some clips and talk about, you know, in both of these speeches, they said some things that really are lessons for young athletes and parents, and really things that we talk about a lot, but you're hearing it direct from the mouths of guys who've, you know, achieved so much, and we just thought it was worthy of talking about. One of y'all maybe give a little bit of context on Brady's speech.
I mean, gosh, he spoke at the Hall of Fame presentation for the New England Patriots, and what struck me was, and I didn't realize this when I was seeing the clips until I went back and watched it, was there's 50,000 plus folks at the stadium.
60,000.
And you said it was the same night?
And it was the same night, because I did the game Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Wednesday night, everybody was talking about it. Just, you know, they've had to plan it for so long, they didn't know, but it was the same night as Game 3 in Dallas while Boston was playing. And that's what they said, what a sports town. You had Fenway Park sold out.
Yeah.
You had everybody at TD, TD Garden up there.
Oh, yeah.
So the teams on the road, they had 30,000 or 25,000 in there watching the game, plus 60,000 at Foxborough for Brady.
It's unbelievable.
You got to give props to New England.
Yeah.
I mean, that area
I
is.
try not to give it to Beantown too
yeah,
much.
I know. You got to give them, but
nice.
to have that many folks. I mean, obviously, it shows what he meant to that organization. I mean, he is the GOAT, and they wanted to show how much they appreciated him, and they came out.
And I think one cool thing is, look, Tom might not admit it now, and I'd love to have him on someday, but he said a little bit, I think he probably regrets doing that roast like he did on Netflix a little bit, because when you see him in some of these clips, it's like, that's the Tom Brady that we always heard.
He got some bad advice.
He did. And you know what's funny is, did you actually see Wes Welker? I don't know if you saw this, came out and said the reason he didn't go was because exactly what he said. He said, I knew the Tom Brady that motivated people, that got them going. And so there's going to be some great clips from that speech too.
He threw out some props to one of our guests, Tom Guerrero.
Yep.
Alex Guerrero.
Yes. Yeah. My bad, Alex Guerrero.
His brother from another mother.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was cool. Well, we would encourage you to go on YouTube or wherever and listen to both of these speeches in full. Be careful on the Brady one that you're listening to the right speech, not the one from the roast.
Not Netflix.
But listen,
outside with the red suit on.
Listen to it with your kids. It's a great speech, but you may not have time for that. So we're going to pick out some of the best moments from those speeches, and we're going to play them today, and we're going to talk about these clips. So with that, I think let's jump right in, and we're going to kind of call these lessons. Federer entitled his speech "Tennis Lessons."
Yep.
And he had like 3 or 4, and we're not going to do them all, but and Brady's were lessons as well. So with the first one, ask our producer if you'll play clip 1 from Brady.
Nothing of significance in life is accomplished as an individual. Nobody individually hangs those 6 banners up there. Here in New England, it's always about we and us, not me or mine. Relationships are built on shared experiences, and the most meaningful thing in my life are my relationships.
So guys, I mean, this clip, this is all about the team. Jeff, you played on teams your whole life. And I love here that the guy who's the greatest of all time is instead of taking all the credit himself, he's saying we wouldn't accomplish anything if it's about me. It's about we.
Yeah, and I think you can even dig in deeper here when you think about like tennis, golf, where they say individual sports, but golf, you got your caddy, you got tennis, you got your people doing lessons, your coach, your massage therapist, all these people that actually get you ready. And so I think that's what he's kind of saying is like, there's not just one person that did it. Now, obviously, Tom was a massive part of that and probably the biggest part of that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think like anything, his offensive line, he was never touched.
Yeah.
He had more time to throw the ball than a lot of quarterbacks do. So I think at the end of the day, it's cool how he's telling people. And then tell him it's about the relationships. It's about the journey along the way.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times you sit there and go, yeah, that sounds great, but what's he like behind the scenes? We had a guest on, Ryan Supkup, who played with him in Tampa and talked about how, Tom was like, he came in there and he was so humble. He was such a team guy. He talked about how, hey man, you can use my personal trainer, because I think Ryan was hurt. He just said he came in not like a guy who just won all those championships in New England. He came in like anybody else. And so we have firsthand knowledge that he is like that behind the scenes.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, the cool thing is when he went to Tampa is he lifted the entire team.
Yeah.
Just from his leadership and from his unselfishness and caring about all those other people. And they won one championship.
One person can change a culture. And that's probably the message he brought down there.
Yeah. And then I love this next clip goes on a little further, and it's still kind of talking about the team, but it's touching on what you just said about, what matters most at the end of this. And I think, well, let's hear the clip and then we'll talk about it.
The foundation of a successful team, a family, or business is asking what you can do to support the mission. The Patriots embodied that. Everyone was committed to winning. Everyone was selfless. Everyone was always asking, what can I do to help the team win? As the great John Wooden said, happiness begins where selfishness ends.
So, guys, I mean, what's the lesson here for kids in all this?
Well, first of all, John Wooden, if you've never dug into some of his quotes, he's incredible. But I think exactly what he's saying is that you're not doing it by yourself. And you know what? If you do it by yourself, it's not as fun. You don't appreciate it. It's when you can do it with teammates or a group of people, I think it's that much more satisfying. And like you said, I think, and us three as believers up here want to take that. How can we serve? How can I help you get better? And, I love that.
Yeah. I love, we had Kirk Cousins recently, and he talked about playing basketball. And his coach told him in high school that, Kurt, we'd love to have you on the team. You're going to be like the 14th or 15th guy. You're not gonna play. Now, here's a guy who's used to being the star in these other sports, and he said, "Sign me up, coach. I want to be on the bench. I want to be part of that team. I want to serve these guys and help them." And that's just a great lesson for our kids to learn.
One of the quotes that you heard often from Belichick and from Saban is "Do your job." And so I think that's the definition of selfless. When you get to a certain point, as an athlete and you're on a team, you realize you may not be the guy or the girl. Like you may not be the top scorer. You may not be the best receiver. But to be part of that team, and that a good coach is going to sit there and say, I need you to do this. And all I need you to do to support the team is just to do your job. It could be to be a great backup. It could be to be a great practice player. It could be to be a great offensive tackle and keep the quarterback safe. But I think that's just, that's their mantra. That is just do your job every day. And they even go down, like you said, to the equipment managers, to the trainers, do your job. And if everybody just does their job, the organization then becomes successful.
Yeah, no doubt. And Jeff, it seems like every time we talk to pro athletes about retirement and we say, do you miss it? What everybody talks about is the relationships.
Yeah, they don't miss competing as much. They've done that. They put all their work into it. You miss it a little bit, but you miss the locker room banter. You miss the team flights, the dinners, all that. That's because that's where you're developing that relationships. And like you said, you're getting to know people.
And that's the fun of youth sports.
Yeah, exactly.
So we need to encourage our kids, man, enjoy. Yeah. Enjoy your teammates.
Buy in.
Yeah.
I think that's a big thing. Yeah. Buy in. Whether you think it's right at that time or not, just buy in. You'll be amazed at how much your kid grows.
So with that, let's change to another subject here. Lesson number 2, and both of these guys talk a lot about grit and hard work and so on and so forth. So let's start with a Federer clip here.
Then there are days when you just feel broken. Your back hurts, your knee hurts. Had that a lot. Maybe you're a little sick or scared, but you still find a way to win. And those are the victories we can be most proud of, because they prove that you can win not just when you're at your best, but especially when you aren't. Yes, talent matters. I'm not going to stand here and tell you it doesn't. But talent has a broad definition. Most of the time, it's not about having a gift. It's about having grit. In tennis, a great forehand with sick racket head speed can be called a talent. But in tennis, like in life, discipline is also a talent, and so is patience. Trusting yourself is a talent. Embracing the process, loving the process is a talent. Managing your life, managing yourself, these can be talents too. Some people are born with them. Everybody has to work at them.
So I love this clip because it's actually more than grit. It's about all the things that you learn out of sports. But Roger talks about, it's not just about talent.
Well, and I love what he said. The coolest thing is winning when you're not at your best. Because I remember Tom Glavine, how many times he'd always tell me, the only time I'm truly healthy is the first day of spring training. And after I throw my first pen in spring training, it's all managing it through there. And you think about it, in any sport, there's so many games, that those guys are showing up or those girls are showing up someday and they're not feeling good.
Yeah.
And you have to find a way to dig deep and say, I got to get through this, not only for yourself, but for your team.
Yeah.
Well, he redefined what talent is. He said talent's not just hitting an amazing forehand down the line. Talent is getting up, putting in the work when you don't feel good.
Yeah.
Playing through adversity, showing that grit. That's all under the definition of talent, or the umbrella of talent.
Yep. Let's hear what Brady has to say.
To be successful at anything, The truth is, you don't have to be special. You just have to be what most people aren't. Consistent, determined, and willing to work for it. No shortcuts. If you look at all my teammates here tonight, it would be impossible to find better examples of men who embody that work ethic, integrity, purpose, determination, and discipline that it takes to be a champion in life.
Dude, how do you add to that?
You don't need to. I mean, I think he just said everything that was perfectly said.
Yeah.
You don't have to be special. You just have to keep coming back and give it another day and keep working. I mean, that's my favorite quote right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's powerful. Let's listen to one more quote from Federer, and a little bit of context on this. You know, Federer's always talked about, you know, is God, the guy's effortless.
Oh, yeah. It looks like he wouldn't sweat. He played a 5-setter and he wouldn't even sweat.
Yeah, so he comments about that persona.
Effortless is a myth. I mean it. I say that as someone who has heard that word a lot. Effortless. People would say my play was effortless. Most of the time, they meant it as a compliment. But it used to frustrate me when they would say he barely broke a sweat. Or he's even trying. The truth is, I had to work very hard to make it look easy. I spent years whining, swearing, throwing my racket before I learned to keep my cool. The wake-up call came early in my career when an opponent at the Italian Open publicly questioned my mental discipline. He said, "Roger will be the favorite for the first 2 hours, then I'll be the favorite after that." I was puzzled at first, but eventually I realized what he was trying to say. Everybody can play well the first 2 hours. You're fit, you're fast, you're clear, and after 2 hours, your legs get wobbly, your mind starts wandering, and your discipline starts to fade. It made me understand I have so much work ahead of me, and I'm ready to go on this journey. I get it. My parents, my coaches, and my fitness coach, everyone had been calling me out. And now even my rivals were doing it. Players, thank you. I'm eternally grateful for what you did because you made me work harder. So I started to train harder, a lot harder actually. But then I realized winning effortlessly is the ultimate achievement. I got that reputation because my warm-ups at the tournaments were so casual that people didn't think I'd been training hard. But I had been working hard before the tournament when nobody was watching. I didn't get where I got on pure talent alone. I got there by trying to outwork my opponents. I believed in myself, but belief in yourself has to be earned.
I love the final statement there.
Yeah.
Belief has to be earned. And I don't know if you've never watched, again, on YouTube, you can go watch a Federer training session and he worked his tail off.
Yeah.
But he didn't look like it on the court.
Well, like you said, you can fake belief, right? Like if you might be able to fool other people, but it'll eventually it'll rear its ugly head. And I used to say that, like if you're not prepared, we've said this before, like I do a lot of speaking. And I've gone a few times where I have not been prepared speaking. You get up there and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, what am I talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas I've done some that you really prepare, you really work. And so when you get up there, it's easy.
Yeah.
Everything's done. And sports is no different.
Yep.
If you practice hard, you get out there and all of a sudden, hey, you know what? This isn't tough. And that's kind of what Federer was saying there.
Yeah.
Like if you say you're practicing hard and you get out there, you might get away with it one time, but eventually people will find that he's not working hard.
Yeah.
If you put in the reps, if you put in the hard work, it allows you to be in the moment when that moment happens. I was listening to a podcast from a Broadway star talking about the same thing. He said that if you learn your lines backwards and forwards, if you learn your spots, if you learn everything like before you get out there, you can be in the moment and you can be your best. But you can't do that until you put the work in beforehand.
Yeah.
And that's life. Like you said, that's public speaking. That's getting preparation for a test, for a meeting, for a tennis match.
Yep, no doubt. Let's run another clip on another topic, another lesson here about adversity.
I would encourage everyone to play football for the simple reason that it is hard. It's hard when you're young to wake up in the off season at 6 a.m. to go train and work out, knowing that all your friends are sleeping in and eating pancakes. It's hard when you're on your way to practice, weighed down with all your gear, and it's 90 degrees out and all the other kids are at the pool or at the beach. and your body is already completely exhausted from workouts in 2 days. It's hard to throw, catch, block, and tackle and hit kids when they're way bigger and way more developed than you, only to go home that night bruised and battered and strained, but knowing you have to show up again the next day for just the chance to try again. But understand this, life is hard. No matter who you are, there are bumps and hits and bruises along the way. And my advice is to prepare yourself, because football lessons teach us that success and achievement come from overcoming adversity, and that team accomplishment far exceeds anyone's individual goals.
So guys, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say the biggest mistake that parents make today is trying to remove the hard from our kids. And sports provide great opportunities to do hard things, but so do a lot of other things in life. And as parents, we have to allow our kids to go through hard things and not try to remove all those things for them.
People say all the time that kids haven't changed, but parents have changed.
Yeah.
And we look back and you look back at things that my dad and my mom let me go through on my own. A lot of times just because they were working or whatever. I'm like, gosh, I don't know if I'd ever let my kids, have to do that. But I mean, gosh, what a great quote about just the benefit of your kids playing sports, because they're going to go through hard things, because they're going to fail, because they're going to get run over by somebody at football practice and have to get back up and not quit and go the next day. Because like you said, I mean, life is hard. All three of us have been through really hard times in different areas. And I think having to show fortitude and perseverance as a kid, within reason, is going to prepare you for life.
Yeah, look, I mean, there's not much else to say. He said it. That was my favorite clip from the whole thing. It's probably the most played clip if you've seen it on Instagram and TikTok with all of the other stuff. But I think he's just making a point that, like, not just football, but any sport, anything, make your kids work, make your kids, give their best. Does it mean they're going to be the best player? Does it mean they're going to win championships? No, but I love what he said. Like, it can prepare you for everything else. And, I think about my sister a lot, watching her, playing college basketball Division III and how hard she worked and this and that. No one came and watched the games. We did, but she was doing it because she loved it. Yeah. But now, she's working at she's second in line at Whitfield Academy. I don't know what you call that. You know what you call that, under the headmaster or whatever.
Associate head.
Sure. Yeah. I don't know that lingo. But my point is like, she's continued to climb the ladder. And it's because how hard she worked growing up, and she didn't quit. She knew she wanted to do something. So yes, it's nothing to do with sports, but it's life. And that's why I think he tied in at the end, because life is hard.
Yeah. Yeah, the benefit of making your kids or allowing your kids to go through hard things is long-term benefit. It may be short-term pain, but it's long-term benefit that you'll never regret.
I would say it's 90% of the lessons I learned in middle school, high school were through sports.
Yep.
And the other 10%, my dad. Spanking me.
Yeah. And speaking of hard things, failure is a hard thing, and watching your kids fail. But the way that we teach our kids to embrace failure is so critical as an athlete.
Yep.
If you want to succeed as an athlete, you have to embrace failure. So let's hear what Federer says about that.
In tennis, perfection is impossible. In the 1,526 singles matches I played in my career, I won almost 80% of those matches. Now, I have a question for you. What percentage of points do you think I won in those matches? Only 54%. In other words, even top-ranked tennis players win barely more than half of the points they play. When you lose every second point on average, you learn not to dwell on every shot. You teach yourself to think, okay, I double faulted, it's only a point. Okay, I came to the net and I got passed again, it's only a point. Even a great shot, an overhead backhand smash that ends up on ESPN's top 10 playlist, that too is just a point. So here's why I'm telling you this. When you're playing a point, it has to be the most important thing in the world, and it is. But when it's behind you, it's behind you. This mindset is really crucial. because it frees you to fully commit to the next point and the next point after that, with intensity, clarity, and focus. The truth is, whatever game you play in life, sometimes you're going to lose a point, a match, a season, a job. It's a roller coaster with many ups and downs. And it's natural when you're down to doubt yourself and to feel sorry for yourself. And by the way, your opponents have self-doubt too. Don't ever forget that. But negative energy is wasted energy. You want to become a master at overcoming hard moments. That is, to me, the sign of a champion.
I mean, I just think he said, like, you've got to move on. I mean, you're going to fail. You do your very best in that moment, whether it's a set, a point, a game, a day in your job. You're going to have a bad day in your job, and you've got to sit there and go, I did my best, had a rough day, but kind of like we talked about before, a lot of this, in what Brady said in terms of the key to success is just getting up the next morning and give it your best again.
Yeah, I love two things for me. You've heard me speak sometimes to a group, and I always talk about three things leaders do, and one of them is they move on. I've said that they don't dwell on what happened. You learn from it, you get better, but you got to keep moving on. And I think that's, so important. And from a guy, obviously, that had to do it. I didn't know that stat. 54. He only won 54%.
Crazy, isn't it?
So you want to talk about just winning the margins?
Yeah.
Winning the little things. I think we watch. I mean, he's one of the, 2 or 3 most dominant tennis players in the history of the game, and he only won 54% of his points.
It's crazy.
So
he won the ones that counted, I guess. I mean, he won the big points,
Well, and that's what I'm saying. But I think that's incredible how he talks about that. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I love that, and I think, as I look back on my journey with my kids, knowing what I know today, one of the things I would definitely do different is when they were 10, 11 years old, is teach them to embrace failure. And not to like failure and not to be satisfied with failure, but not to let it knock you down and just to learn that, it's just part of playing.
Yep.
And look at the Jordans and how many shots he missed and all those stats that are out there to tell your kids that over and over and over so that they don't worry about when they fail. They get right back up and go after it.
I think I make a mistake a lot of times of thinking parenting is teaching your kids things, which it is, but a lot of times it's taking a step back and letting them figure it out for themselves. It's picking those moments, and you like especially after something where there's been a defeat or where they failed at something or something's been hard for them. My instinct immediately is to go in and try to fix it or try to have a teaching lesson. But sometimes it's like, hey, especially when they get to be a certain age, hey, why don't you try to work on this yourself and figure this out?
Yeah. One thing I love too is we're talking about self-doubt, how your opponent has self-doubt too. And I think sometimes I remember Bobby Cox, one of the best things he told me was when you walk up to that plate, even if you're 0 for your last 20, have that head up and act like you just hit a home run your last at bat. Do not let your opponent see that you are scuffling and you have because then they're just going to finish you off. So I like that too, kind of the fake it till you make it sometimes. Teach your kid to keep their head up and keep moving forward.
Yeah, don't show your competitor that you're down.
Yep.
Yeah, big time. Well, there's a lot more gold in these speeches, and we could touch on those. I think we've exhausted our time here, but hope you enjoyed that. Again, we encourage you to go listen to these full speeches out here.
Well, they're two of the best athletes,
yeah.
That have done it at their thing, and I think it's so cool because they kind of hit on, like you said, so many different things because they're speaking for a long time, but there's so many, I think, nuggets that you can take for your kids and for you as a parent, to think about, like you said, let your kids fail let them learn, let them figure it out. Don't just tell them how to figure it out. Let them figure it out, because if they can figure it out on their own, y'all know this having kids, I know this starting to watch my kids, but if they figure it out on their own, it's going to mean way more than if you help them.
Yep, no doubt.
So hope you enjoy it, and we'll see you next week. Hey guys, Jeff Rancourt here. Thanks for checking out Pure Athlete, and subscribe to our channel on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you go to listen to our podcast.